we talked about earlier on, talk about civilizations have come and gone and all the rest of it. What generally happens is one teacher gets through, so some light gets through. But after a while, that light is closed down and stops. So you see a wonderful time where some light comes in and civilization, people start loving and being kind to each other and helping each other. And then gradually the darkness, the ego comes back again. And then another one comes in and it happens again. And we've seen this over thousands of years. And the last one being Jesus bringing this light into the dream, into the mind, the separated mind or mortal mind or whatever you want to call this state. And then the ego responds by closing it down. And this is what has been happening now for a number of years, is the closing down of that light, trying to stop that light spreading any further. But this time, it's not one teacher, we're talking thousands.
And everyone has their own language in order to reach everyone. Because I think perhaps not the issues, but some of the challenges before were that these teachers connected to the greater mind, obviously. If Jesus was a teacher connected to the greater mind, if people before him, people after him have all been teachers that have been connected to the greater mind, but they've delivered their teaching in a language suitable for their followers, for their people around them. So we're at a time which is really interesting because we're globally connected. How are we going to get a global teacher? How are we going to get a global?
And they're not going to.
Well, exactly. It needs to happen in so many teachers in so many same languages. Everyone's saying the same thing, but in a slightly different way. That's accessible, that's palatable, that's capable of understanding for each of their audiences. So awakening looks different for everyone depending on their teacher and their worldview, but still gets the same ultimate result.